Greg Branos for the Coach Speak Index. What's up, everybody? What is good? Hope you're ready for your drafts. Hope you're ready for the NFL season to kick off, because it's happening. This is the weekend. This is the upcoming week. You know how it works. You've been playing fantasy for a while. Come on now. This is the flag plant episode. 15 players that I am planting my flags on for the 2024 season. I really think we should have planted 15 flags on the moon when we went up there. That would have been fun. That just run up the score Nick Saban style. All of these players that we are going to talk about today are draftable over on Underdog Fantasy. I am very proud to be partnered up with them. And you can sign up with promo code CoachSpeak to claim a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash, plus a free pick. That was recently up to $250 in bonus cash. It's been quadrupled. That's a lot of money. 1,000 bones. All right. You know what? Let's start with quarterbacks for these flag plants. The very first one, Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray, ADP of 72 overall on Underdog. I first want to start with this quote from offensive coordinator Drew Petzing talking about maintaining offensive balance. He said, a lot of people say the word balance like we need to be 50-50, which I've always thought that's not the goal of balance. The balance is being whatever I need to be when I need to be it. That could be 80-20, that could be 90-10, or it could be 50-50. So Petzing isn't trying to force anything. He's just focused on running the offense based on the looks that the opponent gives, the way that it should be. Petzing is a sharp guy. He's someone who will be a head coach in the very near future, in my opinion. But you know what? Just go ahead and bookmark it. Go ahead and bookmark that. Come back to me. Kyler Murray was the QB4 in fantasy points per game in 2020 and in 2021. He was the QB7 in 2022. And then he was QB9 last season. Fresh off an ACL tear and in a brand new offensive system. He's going off the board this year as QB7, and I believe that is his floor. This will be Kyler Murray's second year in Drew Petzing's offense and the first full year. The Cardinals went out. They got him a stud wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. This offensive line should be a bit better. Trey McBride is ascending to elite tight end status. The running game is strong. Things are really looking up for Kyler Murray in this Arizona offense. The defense, on the other hand, probably not scoring any dates with TLC, given that whole no scrubs policy. Jonathan Gannon does get them to play better than the sum of their parts, but the parts are kind of suspect. It's more likely than not that we see Arizona's defense get torched, and then the offense has to keep pace with that. Pretty good fantasy playoff schedule here. At home, week 15 versus the Patriots. On the road, week 16 at Carolina. And then in Los Angeles, week 17 to play the Rams. My second flag plant, quarterback for the Washington Commanders, Jayden Daniels, has an ADP of 96 overall. Daniels ran for more than 2,000 yards over his 2 years at LSU. A little too quick to run sometimes, but we want rushing quarterbacks in fantasy, and he is going to run for a whole heap of yards. And he's going to keep this offense on the field, much in part due to his legs. Couple that with the deep shots that Dan Quinn wants to take in the passing game, and we are cooking with gasolina. Pretty bad offensive line in Washington, or at least a not great offensive line in Washington. So we may see Jaden Daniels run even more than intended because of all of the scrambles, in addition to the designed runs. We just need him to stay healthy, and he will smash this year. Decent fantasy playoff schedule for him, starting week 15 at New Orleans, then home in weeks 16 and 17 to face the Eagles and Falcons. That week 17 Atlanta-Washington game could easily end up as the highest scoring game of that week, and very possible that you will need to have some pieces from at least one of those teams, probably both, if you want a shot at winning some very large tournaments like Best Ball Mania. Let's move on to running backs, and we will start with my favorite running back, Breece Hall, ADP of 6 overall. After the Jets drafted a pair of running backs in this year's draft, Robert Saleh was asked about Breece Hall's expected workload, and he said Breece is the unquestioned bell cow. But even then, you're still talking 20, 25 touches. So that's his idea of kind of a reduced workload, is 20, 25 touches. Hall averaged 20.1 touches per game after they took him off a snap count early in the 2023 season. He played on 89% of snaps and saw 39 touches in a meaningless Week 18 game, which is just absolutely wild. So when the games actually mean something, how much do you think they're going to use him? He's just such a supreme talent, Breece Hall. He finished as the RB4 last year in half PPR, and that was with him being on a snap count for the first quarter of the season, playing behind a worse offensive line, and with a much, much worse quarterback. This year, he'll be in the best offensive environment he's ever been in. And with that Jets defense, I expect this team to hold a lot more leads in games, and they can just ride Breece Hall to put those games away. Next, running back flag plant, Kenneth Walker, ADP of 60 overall. New Seahawks offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb called Walker a really, really talented, powerful back that's a true three-tool guy. He's electric out of the backfield as a pass catcher. And then you have all the reports out of training camp about how much they want to feed Walker this year, and all the stars are just really starting to align here. There's this myth that Kenneth Walker can't catch passes, but that isn't really true. It's just that he hasn't been in offensive systems that throw to the running back position that much. I'm not expecting him to be Christian McCaffrey all of a sudden, or, run these deep wheel routes, but he's more than able to catch dump offs and screens and short passes that are basically just an extension of the running game, but starting at a different point on the field. And that is pure Ryan Grubb stuff. He loves to create controlled chaos, loves moving every piece of his offense around the field, even the offensive linemen. And that is going to play into what Kenneth Walker does best, which is rip off monster plays. We could be looking at a workhorse situation here with Walker, and if that's the case, he is a league-winning pick at the 5-6 turn. Next up is Javonte Williams. Has an ADP of 101 overall. Williams played on 46% of offensive snaps and garnered 264 touches last year, coming off an ACL and LCL tear in his knee. Broncos head coach Sean Payton has talked about how the full healing for this type of injury occurs in year 2. He also asked Javonte Williams to get back down to his college weight, which Williams did, and Payton said that he's looked fantastic as a result, and the training camp reports agree. As J.J. Zacharyson points out, Sean Payton teams own 8 of the top 17 team running back target share seasons since 2011. This backfield will be PPR scamming their way into your heart. I expect another big workload for Javonte Williams this year. Fantastic pick in all formats. Redraft, best ball. He's going to get a lot of work this year. Next up, we are going to stay in the Broncos backfield. Jaleel McLaughlin, ADP of 150 overall on Underdog. This guy is so electric with a ball in his hands. Last year, McLaughlin finished 15th in PFF rushing grade, 5th in missed tackles forced per attempt, and 3rd in PFF receiving grade. The advanced metrics match the eye test with McLaughlin. And this is a guy who Sean Payton has talked about nonstop during the offseason, sometimes completely unprompted, which is very, very big when we're talking about coach speak. McLaughlin is set to occupy the joker role in Payton's offense. So we're looking at around 9 touches or so per game in this locked-in role that he has. Samaje Perine gone. We don't have to worry about him eating into Javonte Williams stuff or Jaleel McLaughlin stuff. Not a weekly starter in redraft. Maybe if you're in a bind, you can do that, but an excellent pick. Excuse me. Oh my goodness, I'm verklempt talking about Jaleel McLaughlin. Not a weekly starter in redraft, but an excellent pick in best ball because he will be posting several spike weeks. And the Broncos have a potential shootout looming in week 17 against the Bengals. I got one more running back for you here who I am planting my flag on. And maybe you know who it is. Maybe you know who it is already. We're going. You know what? I'm gonna do this one Barry White mode. All right. We're gonna get real sexy with it. A little ASMR. My final flag plant for the running back position is Kamani Vidal, who has an ADP of 182 overall. All right, I'm exiting the Barry White voice, going back to regular, monotone, very unmodulated Greg Branos voice to talk about one of my favorite running backs from this draft class, Kamani Vidal, graded as the best pass blocking running back in the 2024 draft class. And we all know that pass protection plays a big part into how much running backs see the field in their rookie years. Vidal turned 300 plus touches into 1,800 plus yards and 15 touchdowns last year in college. He is a missed tackles forced machine. And the two players in front of him right now are 29-year-old Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, who is coming off yet another brutal leg injury. Not only is there a path to meaningful work for Vidal, but there's a chance he becomes RB1 for this Chargers team. Jim Harbaugh's depth charts have always been fluid. Vidal showed off all of his impressive traits in the preseason, and I expect that to continue as he gets touches in the regular season, and I think that can build up to him getting a lot of opportunities in this Chargers backfield, where we already know with Greg Roman, they want to run the ball. And that wraps up running backs. Want to tell you something real quick. If you're watching or listening to this, which is, I mean, basically the only two ways to consume. I guess you could read the transcript on YouTube. Not the ideal way to consume this, but you probably have a fantasy draft coming up this weekend, and maybe you've been procrastinating on doing all the research that you need to do to help you create your draft list so you can crush your draft and just ride that post-draft high where you stare at the draft board for a good 5 minutes. Of course, take a picture so you can stare at it a little bit more later, maybe, on a nightly basis before you nod off to sleep. I'm going to give you a quick fantasy draft life hack on behalf of the fine folks at RotoWire. If you want to cram for your draft, or if you just want to check out all the resources and tools that RotoWire has, you can sign up for a free 2-day trial that does not require a credit card. I love that part so much because I loathe, I abhor, I hate entering a credit card for a quote-unquote free trial, and then I forget about it, and all of a sudden I'm paying for my free trial. I've actually never seen free trials before that didn't require a credit card, so this is really cool. It's truly free, and it's risk-free, and this isn't like approved copy or anything, so hopefully they don't get mad at me. But hypothetically now, okay? I think I cover myself if I say hypothetically. Hypothetically, you could sign up for this free trial at RotoWire 1 day before your draft, devour their fantasy football draft kit, go draft your team, and then you're done. It didn't cost you a dime. It didn't even cost you a penny. Completely hassle-free. Go sign up for your free trial at rotowire.com/coachspeak. You know which way the slash goes. I don't have to tell you that. I will put the link in the description section of this video, and I think you will really enjoy the content that RotoWire puts out. They are some of the OGs of fantasy football. I should know. I have been playing for 20 years. I'm very familiar with them. If you've been playing for a long time, I'm sure you are familiar with RotoWire as well. Alrighty. Wide receiver. Let's start off with one of my favorites. Terry McLaurin, Commanders wide receiver, who has an ADP of 46th overall. Terry McLaurin is one of only 6 wide receivers who have gone over 1,000 yards each of the past 4 seasons. He has also been in the bottom third of catchable target rate all 4 of those years. Now he gets Jaden Daniels, the only FBS quarterback last year with 10 plus air yards per attempt and a catchable throw rate of at least 80%. His skill set matches up perfectly with Terry McLaurin. McLaurin also gets Dan Quinn as a head coach who is obsessed with generating explosive plays and taking deep shots off of play action. Remember, one of the two traits that Quinn said he wanted in a quarterback back before the draft, when they asked him about it, one of the two traits that was necessary for him was deep ball accuracy. McLaurin also gets offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, whose Cardinals offense ranked first in neutral pace and no huddle rate over his 4 years in Arizona. We are going to see a lot more offensive plays from the Commanders this season and a lot more catchable passes for McLaurin, especially in the deep part of the field. Next, wide receiver flag plant is Kansas City Chiefs rookie Xavier Worthy, who carries an ADP of 54 overall. Are we really going to overthink this one? Because it feels like drafters have been doing exactly that all offseason. Xavier Worthy is fast, but so was John Ross. Okay, but Xavier Worthy is also a really good route runner. But I saw him get knocked down to the ground on a play in training camp, Greg. You don't think Andy Reid can scheme Worthy out of these types of press coverage looks? Those defenders better be knocking his ass to the ground every single time the ball is snapped, because otherwise he gone. All right? This is the fastest receiver in the history of the NFL who is a legitimate route runner, who is attached to the best quarterback in the NFL on a team where everyone from the head coach to the offensive coordinator to the quarterback are talking about wanting to get back to their deep passing roots after Patrick Mahomes posted the lowest average depth of target of his career last season. They didn't throw deep last year because they didn't have the personnel. Now they do. And Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy are about to terrorize the NFL at a level that is going to make Sean McDermott give them a standing ovation. Next flag plant. Green Bay Packers wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, ADP of 112 overall. This isn't just a flag plant mandated by the ball cabal that I am a card-carrying member of. Yes, they would kick me out if I didn't, but I was going to do it anyway. So here we go. Very often, we bet on a player because of opportunity, and we're less sure about their actual talent. Jameson Williams, Keon Coleman, Darnell Mooney. Dontavian Wicks is the opposite of that. He is an outstanding route runner. So smooth with his hands, with his movement. A lot to like about his rookie season. And then to think about what he'll look like if he makes another big leap in year 2, like Matt LaFleur believes he can. That is very exciting stuff. I know it's a crowded receiver room in Green Bay. In a crowded pass catching room, right? You add in those 2 tight ends. But I want to bet on talent here and then look back after the season is over and say, I can't believe Dontavian Wicks was going in the 10th round. I know Matt LaFleur wants to mix up his rotation of pass catchers, but if Dontavian Wicks becomes this Davante Adams-ish receiver that they've all talked about as being possible, it will become impossible to take Wicks off the field. He is one of the top 2 pass catching options they have, along with Jaden Reed. and yet he's only the fourth most expensive. Again, I am going to bet on the talent here. Next, receiver flag plant, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Michael Wilson has an ADP of 144 overall. This is a locked-in wide receiver 2 on an offense that should score a good deal of points, and he is going in the 13th round. He is a 3-position guy, which not only helps keep him on the field, but it allows offensive coordinator Drew Petzing and the Cardinals to do more with him and exploit certain matchups that they see. He's a big dude with superb hands and contested catch ability. It's his second year in this offensive system, first full season with Kyler Murray, and this staff trusted him enough to play him a ton in his rookie year. I was already drafting him a bunch early on, and then I saw that reception perception creator and wide receiver god Matt Harmon is also in on him. So the afterburners have been activated, and we are a full go on Michael Wilson. Next, wide receiver, who I am planning my flag on. It's Jalen McMillan. Tampa Bay Bucks rookie, ADP of 167 overall. If you follow the Coach Speak Index on Twitter, at Coach Speak Index, you know that I've been touting Jalen McMillan for literally months now. There are several reasons for that. First of all, just a very talented player, and he put that on display all of training camp and in the preseason games as well. So, talent, check. Now, how do the coaches feel about him? Well, Bucks head coach Todd Bowles said, "We know he has outstanding hands and competitiveness, and we know he can play all 3 spots. We're really high on him. He's very smart. He's very competitive, and he has a motor that doesn't stop, so that's only going to help us." Bowles has continued to talk up McMillan throughout the offseason, which is really quite notable because he is one of the most blunt head coaches in the NFL, and he will tell you exactly where a player stands with him. So this is very big for Jalen McMillan. And then new offensive coordinator Liam Cohen said about McMillan, he's a true route runner. He's a guy that's wired to separate, has the ability to work the defense at all 3 levels. He has that competitive nature to be able to come in here and compete for early playing time. Bowles and Cohen have both mentioned multiple times how versatile Jalen McMillan is, how he can play all 3 spots as a receiver. And that is huge because the Bucks are on record saying that they want to bump Chris Godwin back into the slot. So McMillan can play on the outside when that does happen. The final piece of this puzzle is opportunity. How often will the Bucks wide receiver 3 be on the field this year? Well, Tampa ranked 7th in 3 receiver sets last season, running 11 personnel 72.6% of the time. They ranked 5th in 2022 at a 72.1% rate with a different offensive coordinator. And then Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for the Rams in 2022, coming from that Sean McVay tree. The Rams led the league in 11 personnel at a 90.3% clip that year. We are going to see so many 3 receiver sets in Tampa this season, which is just another reason why I'm so bullish on Jalen McMillan. Alrighty. Last one. Last receiver. who I am planting a flag on. Another guy I've talked about 4 months. I mean, months. Just months. Months and months. Miami Dolphins rookie receiver Malik Washington has an ADP of 211 overall, going in the final round. He was a 6th round pick out of Virginia, where he caught 110 balls last year for 1,426 yards and 9 touchdowns. A bona fide yak guy. Matt Harmon likes him a lot, which, again, carries significant weight for me. Washington ranked 2nd in overall PFF grade among the 2024 wide receiver draft class, 2nd versus zone coverage, 2nd versus man, 7th in yards per route run, and 5th in contested catch percentage. He is hashtag good at the game. And the runway is already opening up for Malik Washington, with Odell Beckham Jr. starting the season on PUP and Jalen Waddle dealing with an injury. I believe Malik Washington will establish himself as the wide receiver 3 in Miami. Now, the Dolphins ran out of 11 personnel at a bottom 3 rate last season, which, that's not great when you're talking about a wide receiver 3 on that team. But Miami did run 11 personnel at a very high rate this preseason at 85%. That could just be a preseason thing, but it's also possible that Miami hasn't been deploying 3 wide receiver sets in recent seasons because they haven't had adequate personnel. With Malik Washington, that changes. He is yet another yak guy that Mike McDaniel can roll out onto the field, and he'll be benefiting from coverage that's focusing more on Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the running backs. And then there's always the contingent upside, where if something happens to either of Miami's 2 star receivers, Malik Washington could find himself playing a boatload of snaps. He is more of a slot guy, but he does have some ability to play outside as well. He is such an absolute smash pick in the final round of drafts. Let us wrap things up with tight ends. We will begin by staying in Miami. Tight end Jonnu Smith, ADP of 190 overall. Mike McDaniel was asked about Miami's use of tight ends, and he said, "Some people think that just whatever it was, it will always be. There's opportunities there for sure." This is one of the more clear statements that McDaniel has made in regard to scheme and expected player usage. He's telling us that we should not expect continued light usage from the tight end position just because we saw that in the first 2 years of this offense. And the reasoning for them to break from this is that they have an actual weapon now at tight end instead of Durham Smythe or Mike Gesicki. Mike McDaniel said that Jonnu Smith has become a master of yak, not only because of speed, but because of a mindset. And McDaniel has also talked about how multiple Jonnu makes this offense when he's on the field. Jonnu Smith saw a career-high 70 targets, 50 catches, and 582 receiving yards last year with the Falcons. He is a perfect fit in Mike McDaniel's offense. This is yet another yak monster that defenses will have to deal with. I'm expecting plenty of spike weeks for best ball, which is why I have loaded up on Jonnu Smith. You could get away with having him as your tight end 2 and stopping there if you took an elite tight end like Sam Laporta or Mark Andrews earlier on in the draft. I think you could even do it with some of those like later elite tight ends like a Jake Ferguson or David Njoku. There's also a possibility that he is a startable tight end on a weekly basis in managed leagues as well. Final flag plant, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here because it's actually 2 tight ends who are going in the final round of drafts, who I believe will each post multiple spike weeks, making them excellent tight end 3s. And that is Denver Broncos tight end Greg Dulcich and Green Bay Packers tight end Tucker Kraft. We have seen what Greg Dulcich can do when he's healthy, when he was healthy in his rookie year. Very explosive tight end who gets the ball in the open field and can really rip off some big runs there. Sean Payton likes this guy a lot. Doesn't even care that he's not a great blocker. And just the way that he doesn't care about it for Jaleel McLaughlin either. Like, they're just playmakers, and he wants these playmakers out there on the field. And then with Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave gets all the spotlight and focus and shine in this Green Bay tight end room, but Matt LaFleur views these guys as both basically being on the same level, both being complete tight ends, as he called them, and just very talented tight ends, both good pass catchers. And Musgrave is going rounds and rounds earlier. Tucker Kraft has gone undrafted in a lot of best ball drafts on Underdog. He's probably not. Yeah, he's not going to be a weekly startable guy in redraft leagues. Maybe Dulcich ends up startable in redraft. Like, that's an absolute possibility if this guy stays healthy. Tucker Kraft, probably not. But in this Green Bay offense, where they're just putting out a bunch of pass catchers that are all super talented, and defenses have to pick their poison, Tucker Kraft will have spike weeks. All of these pass catchers for the Packers will have spike weeks there. And Tucker Kraft will be no exception. Very talented tight end. Do not sleep on this guy. He will get you some spike weeks there. So take him as your tight end 3 in best ball. All right. That's it. That's our 15 flag plants. We did it. We did it. All right. What's next? Closing out the show is next. There's nothing left to do. So, like the video, I think is a thing that would be nice to do. If you have some comments, sure. Most importantly, subscribe. Oh, we're going back to the Barry White voice. Why don't you subscribe to the Coach Speak Index channel, baby? All right. Yeah, I need to work on that. Let's just subscribe, all right? All the cool kids are doing it. No pressure, but again, all the cool kids are doing it. And this isn't one of those things that the cool kids do that's bad for you, like cigarettes. It's one of the good things that cool kids do, like cigars. All right? So, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Coach Speak Index. We'll see you out in those draft streets. I'm rambling. Sarah, take us out.